It is, it's 4:01, so we are ready to begin this special session of the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority, City of Crescent City, County of Del Norte, State of California, this Tuesday, September 25th. And so we will call to order, and if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Cowan?
Here.
Commissioner Naffa?
Here.
Commissioner Greeno?
Here.
Commissioner Howard?
Yep.
Chair Enscore?
I'm here. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Any member of the public may address the Solid Waste Management Authority on any matter that is on or off the agenda. After receiving recognition from myself, please get your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any general public comment this afternoon?
I don't know where it is. I hope it doesn't ring. All right, so just still thinking about reducing trash contamination. That I noticed in reading through the minutes last time that we are separating cardboard out and just by hand, just to reduce costs in transport and processing and all of that here. And so in order to be more efficient and not have the cardboard have a chance of being wet, contaminated, unusable, and paper products, go to a system that once a month in the recycle bin, the recycle will be devoted to paper, cardboard, and newsprint, perhaps. I know you have to have a few, evidently you have to have a few products instead of just a single product for some regulatory reason. But that doesn't make sense to me, but it exists. So maybe having all 3 different kinds of paper products. Once pickup a month is devoted to that, of the recycle. And then again, I'm hoping that for my prepaid bags, they can be medium-sized bag, anything that fits in a trunk, a medium-sized bag, a prepaid bag of some sort. Maybe Recology, the buyback center, can just start accepting self-haul bags there, along with people's trash. And it's right next door, and I just would really like to have that convenience. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cooper. Do you have any other public comment this afternoon? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We'll move on into our regular items. Under consent, we have the minutes from August 21st. We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yes.
Yeah, I just had a comment regarding the last page under the adjournment. I would suggest removing the first 3 lines because it's sort of repetitive, saying about our meeting for the 18th and then saying about the meeting for the 25th. So I think the last sentence is sufficient rather than having the first and last.
We will make that correction.
All right. Is that fine with you, Mr. Howard?
I'd amend my motion to reflect Mr. Nava's comments.
All right.
That's fine.
All right. Any public comment on our minutes? Seeing none, would you please pull a vote?
Commissioner Cowan?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Naffa?
Yes.
Chair Enscore?
Yes. All right, very good. We will move on then through our regular agenda. Under item number 2, we will begin with our director's report, which will highlight some of the other things for the agenda.
Thank you, Chair Inscore. First, I'd like to introduce Spencer Fine from Cal Recycle, who visits us at least once a year to inspect our programs. Generally, he oversees all of our compliance with regards to recycling programs, composting programs, mandatory commercial recycling, waste prevention, and we have ongoing conversations about what our efforts are and the local challenges that we face. Would you care to address the board, Mr. Fine?
Thank you, Ted. Board Chair Inscore, may I give this to you real quick? This little grass cycling
All right,
information, got a pamphlet
perfect.
and a little information card.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, just real quick, I'm Spencer Fine, Cal Recycle. I am the local representative from Cal Recycle to Del Norte County and Crescent City. I also assist Humboldt County, your neighbors to the south, and I always appreciate Ted's time and Kira's time for showing me around. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your help. All right.
Okay, so do have a few slides for you today, highlighting some of the things that have happened in the last month. So first few are from our mattress collection event, which was on September 15th. This is the first year that we've also had a mattress collection event at the Yurok Tribal Office. So that was on September 14th. They collected 51 units. At our event, we collected 174 mattresses for recycling, and an additional 33 were not clean enough to be recycled. So they brought them in. I'm introducing our new employee, Jeffrey Matheson, who's receiving a mattress there, and then we have the Hambros crew helping to unload it. So that was, once again, a successful event. We have that about 3 times a year, and as long as people are paying attention. I'd also remind folks that if you're ordering a new mattress or a box spring from a local retailer, you can ask to have your old one collected for no additional charge under this same program. Similarly, we now have Humboldt Moving and Storage on Wednesday mornings. They're accepting up to 6 mattresses or box springs for no charge. That's for every week of the year. So that is a more convenient option. And of course, on a daily basis, we do receive the mattresses at the Del Norte County Transfer Station.
What's the time, excuse me, Mr. Ward, on Wednesday mornings? Do you know?
I think it's about 9 to noon, 9 to 1, in that zone.
Okay, thank you.
And recently I've noticed that they're starting to put signs out on those Wednesday mornings when they're doing it, so you might watch for those signs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see. I did not yet get the Northern Transfer Station RFP out the door, so we'll have to adjust those deadlines. I was hoping that we'll have responses at the next meeting. It probably won't be until November at the best. We're doing the best we can. Landfill post-closure, both vegetation control at the landfill and our regular water testing that's usually done in August have been delayed, in part because we depend upon the Alder Camp crews to help us control the vegetation at the landfill, and they've been very busy with this season's fires. So it took us a while to get the vegetation cut back around the perimeter road, and until that's done, then we couldn't do the water testing. We've also had some vandalism out at the landfill. On the 23rd of August, we noticed that there was a damage to the interior gate, which has since been repaired. But so this is some of the damage that happened out at the landfill. Essentially, someone drove in there, and they did steal a connector right there, and we've ordered a replacement part, but that repair is yet to be done. So we're hoping to get that done pretty promptly, probably in the coming week, because we're looking at rain coming this Saturday, and we want to be prepared for that. Oops, now trying to go back. There we are. Okay. Another thing that's been happening is Refuel Your Fun. I give Kira credit for this because she's the one who's been doing the outreach. We now have 3 locations where you can get your refillable Flame King propane containers refilled. So that's Suburban Propane, Hiuchi Hamlet, and the Lucky 7 Fuel Mart. We're working on the Peme Fuel Mart, but that is not yet set up. So I misstated that in the director's report. Let's see, again, moving back. We did have the cleanup on September 15th, and we thank the Smith River Alliance for that. That was organized by Dan Burgess, Grant Werschel, and Rory McDonald, extraordinary volunteer. So we certainly appreciate that, and later on in this agenda, we'll be asking for a retroactive approval of authority-allocated dumpsters to support the beach cleanup, as we have done in years past. And this past month, like I mentioned, we did hire Jeffrey Matheson, and we did let go a temporary part-time refuse site attendant, Kristen Scott. Next month, we'll be scaling back the hours, as you may know. From June until September, we're open an extra day each week in both in Gasky and Klamath, and then come October, we're back to 2 days a week in Klamath and 1 day a week in Gasky. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions about the month's report.
All right, any questions for Mr. Ward? Yes, go ahead.
Did you have, I know in your report you've got about the upcoming household hazardous waste event on Saturday. So yeah, I just wanted you to mention a little bit about that and what would be accepted.
Thank you for that lovely lob. So, I'd really want to thank Chair Inscore for being willing to put on the hazardous waste wear and pose for a photo that we've now used in our ad. Cal Recycle has actually tried to encourage us to do this for many years. What they call this is community-based social marketing, and the idea is you want to have people and locations that the community identifies with as part of our outreach. So this is the first time we've done this.
You're very identifiable.
So thank you for wearing the fluorescents. So that is this Saturday from 9 to 2 for Del Norte County households. You can bring up to 15 gallons of hazardous waste. I would emphasize that this is for the materials that we don't take every day. We have tried to set it up so that the most common household hazardous waste we can take every single day. So those include used motor oil and filters, antifreeze and car batteries, televisions and computer monitors, household fluorescent tubes, sharps in FDA-approved containers, one end taped of household batteries, and non-aerosol paints, stains, and lacquers. So if you have things like pesticides, herbicides, cleaners, solvents, photographic chemicals, pool chemicals, then this Saturday is the day to bring those into the Del Norte County Transfer Station. We do it from 9 to 2, and our experience has shown us the people who wait the longest are usually the ones who are there earliest. So if you want to get through without waiting too long, I would suggest you show up sometime between 10 and 11.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, let's see, anything else? And then the legislative summary we will go back to towards the end of the meeting. Okay, with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Where is this lovely ad in? Do you guys put it in the paper?
It was in the paper, yes.
Okay, anywhere else?
No. Well, it's we do have it printed at our facility.
Huh. No offense, Jessica, I just don't read the paper too often. And I think I'm finding more and more people don't. So I'm just wondering, maybe we need to get it out other ways.
Well, it's an excellent suggestion, and we will put it on the front page of our website, or at least as a link to the front page of the website tomorrow morning.
Facebook? Yep. Just some.
It's already on Facebook.
Okay. Oh, so there's just other places. I think this is important when we do things like this. And then we do it, and someone goes, well, why don't you ever do that? Just did it. Thank you.
All right, very good. Any other questions for Mr. Ward? All right.
Okay, continuing on the Treasurer's Controller's reports. 2.2 is our regular, just ongoing cash balance. That's going in the right direction. You see our AR aging report. Pretty much anything that is over 60 days due has already been turned over to collection. Kathy's doing a good job keeping up to date with our accounts receivable. Claims approved by directors. Once again, you'll see the largest expense is for the fine services of Hambro WSG for the services at Del Norte County Transfer Station, and the next largest expense is for disposal from the Klamath Transfer Station. Looking at our finances, you can see our monthly totals, and jumping to the back, kind of the bottom line. Both our revenues from the Del Norte County Transfer Station are ahead of budget by over $20,000, and our revenues projected from franchise fees are ahead of budget by over $2,800. So generally, our finances are looking good.
Good.
though it's always important to recognize our agency as a whole is in the red because of the liabilities associated with the landfill and the cost of constructing the transfer station. So even though our cash flow is good, that's just paying off some of our outstanding debts.
Okay. All right, any questions regarding finances? All right, then we will, let's go ahead and move on then.
Okay. 3.1 is every 5 years we have to renew permits for our facilities. So one of these is for a permit review for the Crescent City landfill. So we've exchanged documents back and forth with our local enforcement agent, Huamua, who works for the County Department of Environmental Health. And essentially he's identified several areas where we need a sign-off on documents from either a registered civil engineer or a registered engineering geologist, and I've been in communication with County Engineer Jim Barnes, and it looks like he'll be able to do the sign-offs for us. So we'll be having paperwork to follow, and hopefully there won't be a need to hire an additional consultant to do this, and we'll just be able to do this through an interdepartmental transfer. If that changes, I will return to the board for further reporting.
Okay, very good. Any questions? All right, let's
Okay.
go on to 4.1.
4.1 is a request from Recology, so perhaps might be best to start off with Mr. Herbert.
Afternoon, Jeremy Herbert, Recology. Sorry to bring this ugly subject in front of you guys today. Unfortunately, we're at a point where things have leveled off a little bit, and we're kind of getting to an understanding of really what these costs are that we're getting, that are affecting us pretty heavily. And a lot of that's to do with the cost of recycling, is to get that moved, held, processed. You know, the cost has gone up substantially. So, you know, we're trying to keep the cost down as minimal as possible. So we've applied or attached a cost of really some expenses of increases that we're already dealing with now. And basically we're trying to do bare bones here. We're not asking for any operating ratios. Also, you know, we're just trying to get through this. Unfortunately, the impact's pretty significant for us, and the costs, you know, have hurt us. So we're asking the community to hopefully help us get to where we can continue to function where we need to be. And this is something that we're mandated to continue to do. These are costs that were unexpected to us. They're out of our control through either National Sword. Also in the original agreement, which I wasn't a part of, you know, there was an understanding that, you know, we had the Jolinder and the prices that we had were associated with that. We were hoping this was a temporary problem. It's not a temporary problem, and therefore we've asked for a special request for the 6.12.
Okay. All right.
This is included in the board packet to inform the total board of the status of negotiations. The ad hoc committee has not officially met and responded to this request, so this is more or less a status report. A request from Recology that has not yet had a response from the ad hoc committee.
When is the ad hoc committee meeting?
We're going to find out on Friday. So my supervisor is unreachable until Thursday night, Friday morning. So as soon as he returns back into town, we have a meeting set up Friday morning to schedule him a trip up here to get this discussed.
Ouch.
I know.
6.12%.
Correct.
Ouch. And obviously, based on reading your letter to Director Ward, you're placing this burden back on our customers.
Part of it.
Because basically the recycling markets worldwide have gone kapooey.
That's one of the reasons.
And the other stated reason is
the closure of Jolindra. So technically, we've been incurring quite a bit of costs since the closure. We just didn't know exactly how much, and then as of about 5-6 months ago, probably a little longer than that, we just started incurring processing fees, which is now happening in Humboldt. It's happening everywhere else now too, because
Do you see this going up, continued going up in future years? I know you don't have a crystal ball, and
I don't have a crystal ball, and that's what kind of put us in this position that we're in now, as we didn't have a crystal ball 8 years ago, 7 years ago either. Right now, and the reason why we haven't mentioned this until recently was for the fact that we waited for some stabilization in the market, which we're seeing that now. How long? I don't know. I don't. Now, we are seeing that there's some domestic markets. They're starting to make some improvements. There's some purchasing of plants that are happening domestically. There might be a change at some point in time, but I think a lot of this stuff can be discussed, in an ad hoc of trying to figure out, do we get this rate now where it's supportive for us? And then there's something down the road that we can make changes to. I'm not sure how that's going to flow out just yet.
So walk me through this.
Yeah.
On page 101, you have additional annual cost to process recycling.
Yes.
You've got a $40,000 breakdown for warehouse to transfer mixed recycling. That's the Gelindra piece.
That is the piece that we rent to hold the recycling, and that cost has already gone up again because we had to sign a new lease. What we were paying has gone up from that. We're not even asking for that.
Okay, you've got trucking to Samoa, which is your new facility.
Yes.
Processing costs once you get there.
Once they get there and separate that material, I get charged $88.91 a ton.
So all in with those three things, we're at $273,777.
Correct.
You get an operating cost ratio of whatever, zero franchise fee impact. What is that?
So what that is that once if this was to be approved and we got the additional $273,777, we'd have to pay franchise fees of $30,420 per year additionally to what we pay now.
To the Solid Waste Management
to you.
Authority. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it brings up that total.
Correct.
So you need an additional revenue total of $304,000 annually.
That's just to cover my basic costs, and I'm picking up the rest.
What is the rest you're picking up?
Well, I'm picking up the additional space rent, which has gone up since this request. Second of all, I had to go buy a cat loader. I've had to hire additional staff. I'm now pulling manually cardboard out to try to keep the tonnage weight down for the shipment going down south. Then I'm getting charged per ton. So
It's cheaper to hire than actually keep it in there?
Well, what happens is the cardboard sometimes, because of the contamination, gets wet, which adds tonnage. So if I can pull it out, because we're trying to process what we can in Del Norte County, so we pull out as much cardboard that is reasonably able to do so. If it's just too contaminated, it goes. But yeah, so we haven't hired a guy just to pull that out. Those are additional duties when he has time. But basically, I have a guy down there who's running the Gelindra area. He's pretty much loading all the trailers. He's keeping the floors clean. He's doing the baling of the cardboard. He's loading trucks for that. And then as there's other additional time, he pulls out materials, metals, anything he can get out that has substantial weight before it gets trucked down to Samoa.
So this 6.12% is going to partially cover your costs of about $104,000, partially cover the $104,000 increase. So let's say globally things correct. There's a market again in China. Are you going to adjust rates down?
Well, that's something that needs to be discussed in the ad hoc, right? I mean,
well, I don't know.
There can be a clause, I'm sure. I mean, that's part of just the discussions that we can definitely, talk about. I mean, I don't think we'd probably be opposed to that.
Okay, just curious. We've got obviously some folks that we need to look out for here, and
I agree.
If it goes one way, it could absolutely go another, in my opinion.
I totally agree, and if that's the case, I think that's something that we can definitely discuss. Yeah.
All right, very good. That's it, Chairman.
And just so everyone understands the process, because we have an agreement with Recology, there will be no changes to anyone's rates or any of the services that are provided until and unless there's a change order reviewed and approved by the board. You do not have a change order in front of you, so while Recology has put forth this request and we will be discussing it, at this point until there's a change order, there isn't any action that the board will be taking today that would implement these changes.
Just hope that you guys would get the ad hoc committee together and get this going. We started this conversation in April, I believe, at the April meeting, and here we are now in September, almost October. And I just think we need to giddy up.
Well, we've been giddy-upping. The ad hoc committee has met 4 times. So it's not as if we were not, but this was a, excuse me? Well, because this was a new piece that was just presented. Speaking from the ad hoc, and Mr. Naffa can speak as well, I wasn't anticipating in our discussions that we were going to get dropped with a request for a rate increase. Honestly, this piece changes the entire conversation from my perspective, because we were not there in our discussions. I thought we were moving with some discussions, and now we've been put in a position where we've been asked to raise rates, and that changes the conversation dramatically. And in some ways, it may set us back of trying to have these conversations. And
you and I were on an ad hoc committee, I don't know how long ago, discussing raising rates. I mean, we have been discussing this problem for almost since I've been along, which is almost 2 years. Mm-hmm. So the rate increase doesn't surprise me at all. I just look at it as just something we've been talking about for 2 years. He's just finally saying, this is a percentage. We've been discussing that the rates have got to go up to cover these issues with Jalindra, with the recycling problem. We went down to the plant over a year ago. So I guess I'm just not surprised. I've been looking at this all along, and I've been just waiting for something to happen. And I just feel like we're moving at a slow pace. And now it's coming to a head, and I feel like we're being pushed. We've got to do this. Well, I felt like we've had to do this a year ago or 2 years ago.
Well, this is the first time we've been approached with a rate increase.
No, we talked about, he brought rate increases with
6.1%?
Not of this high, but he has brought rate increases to us in the past. We've talked about different solutions going up in prices on gallons, or not to this extreme and not in this form. But yeah, we have been discussing.
Honestly, I don't see this as something that needs to be seen as a crisis. I mean, yeah, there are problems across the globe that we're dealing with. I don't think that we should be moving more quickly, honestly. I think that, what I'm saying is the market is still volatile. I don't think we should be just jumping into changes, because the market's going to continue to change.
So should we put some type of time frame? When would you like to see an answer from us? 6 months?
I just feel we need to be
Well, I think it
prudent.
just needs to be discussed at this point in time. I think, because the process that is stated in the contract is so long, we felt that we need to get this submitted now to start that process. So where it's going to go, I don't know. I do know that in some of the ad hoc meetings we have discussed that there are some impacts that we've been faced with. We didn't really figure out all the numbers until recently, but because of the time frame it takes in the contract to work through these circumstances, we need to submit now and be able to get through that. That's where we're at with it.
Yeah, fair enough. And the ad hoc it would be the place for us to have those discussions
That's correct.
to vet that out here is probably it's a difficult.
An up and down adjustment during that period of time with a report back to the commission would be outstanding if you could get to that point with Recology.
Okay.
We'll do our best.
I have all the faith in the world, Jeremy.
Well, I'm going to try.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I would think that we'd have a lot more input for you at the next meeting, simply because at our last joint meeting where we met with Recology, this wasn't presented. We were strictly talking about the containers and the recycling, and the bag concept and so on. And we knew that there was going to be some additional cost that was going to be, discussed, but this is the first time that it was actually put on paper and presented to us. There are some concerns, serious concerns that we have about this, so we'll be bringing that up during those meetings and then bring something for you next month.
I would be interested in hearing what CalRecycle is going to be doing about this issue globally and whatnot, because this is not just an issue that we, as the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority, is dealing with. This is a statewide, nationwide issue. So,
You got something on that, or?
I understand I'd be putting you on the spot, but
Oh, please do.
this is kind of a difficult issue for us.
It's good to ask, why are we here? And the main reason why we're here is because it's the right thing to do, is to source reduce. It's what our forefathers did back in the early 20th century, 19th century, and it's gotten a little too easy to throw away things. Second reason why we're all here is because of the AB 939 Integrated Waste Management Act, which mandates all jurisdictions in California reduce their waste by 50%. Then a number of laws came along and changed the way we report, and markets do go up and down. And just a quick little list of things just to get the mind going. Increased emphasis and education on source reduction methods, perhaps focusing on hard-to-market materials. Increased education to minimize contamination. Discontinuing acceptance or collection of certain materials for which there are no longer stable markets. Implementing different schedules. Investing in onboard cameras to reduce contamination. Applying household size to variable can rate to minimize garbage overflow into recycling bin. A lot of this is focused on contamination. Implementing or continuing source separated hauler collection programs. And there's something there that's also changed over the years. Back in the day, it was all source separated materials. So you had a glass bin, you had a fiber bin, you had a green waste bin, you had your trash bin, and then convenience came along. We all threw everything in one bin, and that degrades the value of your material. So it's a situation where you can't have everything at once. And we need to make hardcore decisions about what materials get the most money. And Del Norte is doing good in terms of their diversion rate, their pounds per person per day. You're meeting your target. You're a rural county, so you're not having to deal with this mandatory organics recycling law, 1826, I believe. I get that screwed up with 1383, which is a short-lived climate pollutant, which is the follow-up to the organics law. And what I mean by the rural exemption is that you have until 2020 to meet that. In all likelihood, it may be extended, that this exemption continues after 2020. But if California as a whole does not meet its organics diversion rate by 2020 and 2025, then that exemption could be rescinded, and then all the rural jurisdictions would have to participate in organics. My point is to use this time to where you're not having to dedicate resources to organics to focus on the nuts and bolts of recycling. In terms of compliance, let's say the county or the regional, your regional agencies, so you report under one. Other jurisdictions, they sometimes they report individually by city or county. So you have one number. But let's say you don't meet that number. CalRecycle has the ability to grant good faith effort, and I come up here every year and I see program implementation, quality program implementation. TED goes above and beyond what I've seen in other jurisdictions, so I would have no problem arguing for a good faith effort to my management if for some reason you had to start throwing everything away, because you do have the programs trying to take that material out. So there's a number of ways to think about it. You can think about compliance, and you can just think about what's the right thing to do. And I've got this expansive list. I can share it with Ted, and he can share it with you. But we are in a very tough time. Your neighbors to the south, Humboldt, they're going through the same thing. They're actually having to pay for recycling. And it's a really tough message to get to the public that, hey, recycling is not free. It's just like trash. It's not free. And it's kind of like that community-based social marketing. How does it affect the community, and how can the community do its best to do the right thing? So that's pretty much all I have to say on that.
Well, very much, Mr. Thank you so much. I think that was good to hear. The whole good faith thing is a message that hearing that from CalRecycle is helpful for us, because obviously we are facing these realities that the things that we were recycling or asking our public to recycle before, we're not taking. We've discontinued a number of items. So I appreciate the fact that CalRecycle recognizes the efforts that the agency and our staff has put forward. So
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say thank you for stepping up and speaking to us.
Yeah.
We did put you on the spot, so
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay. All right. Anything else?
Public comment?
Huh?
Public comment?
Okay. Do we want to take public comment? All right. Yes, Ms. Cooper.
So, Eileen Cooper, I think nothing gets the public's attention than knowing that the rates are imminently going to go up 6% or so. And that the ad hoc committee, I believe, is just 2 of you. And I think at this juncture, I'd like to see more participation of the community and you on this. I think it's an opportunity to highlight awareness of what we have to do here. An ad hoc community workshop or something might go a long way, just for education purposes and getting everybody up to speed. I again put forward, as I mentioned, a sort of dual stream. We used to, as was mentioned, separate everything. And I think that higher quality, as we thought we were going to get, that our recycling rates were all going to go up and it was all going to work out, and now we've come to find with contamination, it doesn't work out that way. And that all in all, we may be better off going back on the path of separating to some degree. And to get rid of the worst contamination problem, again, you could make it cardboard with metal or something that doesn't contaminate the paper, a few products. Separate it so that, separate it. And it also comes to my mind that the trucks are going around with the recycling trucks just as much as the trash trucks, only they're not all the way filled. So shouldn't we cut down on our fuel costs by making fewer trips, having larger recycle bins, and maybe one day a week that's separate. I mean, trip out of the month, excuse me, for that separation of that cardboard and contamination issue, that we don't have to have somebody sort it out. So, and I think a whole campaign, we haven't done that in a long time, a whole campaign of public awareness of source reduction. I remember coming to this town and our grocery stores had bulk bins 25 years ago, 20 years ago. And now all the salads, little bit of fluffy salad is in a giant plastic thing. We've gone backwards on a lot of issues, and I want to reverse that.
All right.
Thank you very
Ms.
much.
Cooper. All right.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Mrs. Cooper, or Ms. Cooper brought up something we did a while ago. We did a town hall, so to speak, over at the wastewater treatment center. How long ago was that?
A couple years now, I think.
No, it's
Well, it was
year
about
ago.
a year and a half ago, probably when I came on. You know, maybe it's time to start talking again. We didn't get a huge response, but that room was closely filled, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you know, let's see what we can do again.
Very good. Education's always good.
All right.
So,
And I think it's important. I think it's important also to take into account that we're talking about lifestyle changes here as well, and it doesn't change overnight. So we can't just come down with a hammer when we, you know, haven't been as effective as we should be in communicating the changes that we've already implemented, in my opinion. So.
okay. We will, any other public comment? I can see now, close public comment, and we will continue. We will schedule another ad hoc meeting as soon as we can do so, and I will be hopefully optimistic, along with Mr. Nafa, that we will have some very good things to report a month from now.
And I want to state clearly that I've heard the board's comment about wanting more outreach, and as soon as we affirm where we're headed with these negotiations, then we'll be doing outreach to make sure that everybody knows how they can most effectively navigate the new system.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on to 6.1. Got some bin polls, both coming and already gone.
Yes, the authority has 21 authority allocated dumpsters. These are under contract with Recology. Essentially, the authority says put these dumpsters here to support this community event. Unfortunately, we did not get a request in time from the annual beach cleanup, which has already happened, and so we kind of went out on a limb thinking that we would probably support this event as we have in years past, so we're seeking retroactive approval of 2 bins for the beach cleanup, approval of 1 bin supporting our annual household hazardous waste event coming up, 1 bin as previously requested by the Chamber for Blues, Brews, and Cruise on October 5th, and 2 bins supporting the annual Sea Cruise on October 6th.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. And would you please poll the vote?
Commissioner Cowan?
Yes.
Commissioner Naffa?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yep.
Chair and Score?
Yes. All right. We are at the end of our agenda.
We got one more item. It'll be just a quick summary of what's happened in legislation.
Items. Yes.
I think you have a handout in front of you, and this is the summary table, essentially summarizing the different legislation that the board has adopted a position on and where it currently stands. The governor has until the 30th to either sign or veto the bills on his desk. If he takes no action, they automatically become law. So at this point, either the governor vetoes the bill or it will become law by him signing it or by him not taking any action through September 30th. So 1288 was dead. 1884, straws upon request, was signed into law. AB 1912 is on the governor's desk, though the board opposed it. 2379 is dead. Oops, hello. 2766 is also dead. Connect the Cap is inactive, so that is a 2-year bill. It may come back next year. 2921 died. SB 168 also died, unfortunately. The big bill that we're excited about and really hoping that the governor signs or at least allows to pass is SB 212. This is the first extended producer responsibility program for sharps and pharmaceuticals, and very much would help deal with those issues. We also have a bottle bill fix, SB 452. We're hoping the governor signs, though that I'm less confident that we might get a signature on that. And SB 1335 did pass, and that's been signed into law. Be happy to answer any questions.
No, excellent summary. Thank you for that update.
Oh, I was just going to make a comment that I just bought a case of water down south, and it's
That's actually, that was, then that manufacturer deserves a little bit of extra credit because they're not required to do that, but that's a good thing to do.
All right. Yes, Ms. Cooper. Sure. Oh, for real.
All right, regarding beverage containers, and many reducing that. Something that has come to my attention that this community desperately needs for other reasons. We should not be relying on plastic water bottles. Everyone buying thousands of plastic water bottles. That's craziness. We have pretty good quality water and we can easily educate for filtering. But even beyond that, this community is prone to tsunamis. And the most life-threatening condition after tsunamis is lack of water, because sources are polluted. All your water lines are broken. It takes so much effort to ship in water bottles. They're heavy, our transportation fees. And the response teams, emergency response teams, will be completely overwhelmed. They do not get water to enough people when you have the whole coast in jeopardy. So why not just reduce this horrible waste and serve us better by educating the public about simple, very available, gravity-fed filters that take away all microorganisms, all possible contamination. They're available, they're usable, everybody's drinking water would be certain, pure, and we would get rid of all these water bottles and ensure people's health in this community if the whole community knew that they should have one of these filtration systems. And they are the most cost efficient for everybody. People could save for their trash pickup just in water bottles alone for what these efficient, gravity-fed, porcelain, they're fantastic. And we should be making sure we all have these. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cooper. All right, we have come to the end of our agenda. Mr. Ward, do you have anything else that you want to?
No, sir. I did want to acknowledge that at the last meeting, Commissioner Howard did ask us to revisit the meeting time, and I neglected to include that on this agenda. Should I put that on the next agenda for discussion, sir? Or can we live with 3:30?
Is 4 p.m. better for you?
I love 4 p.m., especially if it's running on our board meeting days.
Okay. I will seek to put it on the next agenda.
It's not an issue with Mr. Naffa.
No, it's fine.
Can we schedule our next meeting for 4 p.m. then? I mean, as we adjourn to our next meeting, can we set that for then, or do we have to have it as an action item to change the time?
I think if the board's available at 4, then it can be moved to a special meeting at 4 until the regular meeting date is changed, or time.
Okay.
I can make that happen.
Does anybody do have consensus that we can have our meeting on October 16th? Call it a special meeting and have it at 4 p.m.? Is that all right with everyone? I see consensus. So if you'll make that happen, please.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll adjourn till October 16th then. Thank you.